Fun stuff. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Hopefully they don't go into too much detail about the game because I want to explore some of it myself. But it is really cool to see little elements that I have in it. It is going to be fun. I am looking forward to playing it and continuing the story, which, quite frankly, actually did deserve the rewatch that we had after Crisis Core. Absolutely amazing. Play it the first time, enjoy it. Play Crisis Core, watch it the second time with some context. It's really good. And then, you know, go on to like part 2. Everyone in the comments is telling me I'm going to be confused without playing the base game and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. But from my experience with, you know, Remake and the way they did it, I got a lot of enjoyment by actually playing it, getting context, and then replaying it. I have, well, not replaying it, rewatching it. I have a feeling that they're going to do something very similar for this part. And they're going to release part 2, release something that gives some additional context or something. And then it's going to be part 3 after that. So I'm getting a lot of fun. And of course, nothing stops me later from playing the OG game and then getting an even richer experience and all this other stuff. So you know what? I'm enjoying it. I know a lot of fans, you know, are watching it through the eyes of having played the original many, many years ago. I'm getting the experience without doing that, which I think is unique in a sense. So I'm enjoying it. Like, you know, like I'm having fun.
Take it from here.
Final Fantasy VII Remake always felt like a marvel to me, an unlikely game that I have a hard time fathoming that it actually exists. To take one of the most well-known and beloved RPGs of all time and rebuild it into a modern package seemed an impossible task, yet Square Enix somehow managed to rise to the challenge. With Rebirth, the second entry in the planned trilogy of the FF7 Remake project, the task seems even more daunting.
The one thing that gets me is, like, it seems like an unthinkable task. Why? You know what I mean? It's like, why? We've got the tech, we've got the graphics, or we've got the engines. Why?
Going into Remake, it was unclear whether Square Enix would stay 100% true to the beloved original or make plot changes to one of the most well-known storylines in all of gaming. The answer, it turned out, was a bit of both. Remake followed the structure of FF7 nearly to a T, expanding out the original's Midgar section into a full game of its own, while also making small but significant changes to key moments.
Oh yeah, small moments. Yeah, after Crisis Core, I'm sorry, I wouldn't exactly call that small, but whatever. Sure, whatever. Let's continue.
And now, Rebirth has the unenviable task of picking up this new, almost but not quite same story as Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, Barrett, and Red 13 emerge from Midgar on the heels of Sephiroth. I went hands-on with a short demo section of the PS5 exclusive, playing through a bit of the flashback sequence from 5 years previous, where Cloud and Sephiroth approach the Mount Nibble reactor, as well as a second section of the open area that the party explores before entering the military city of Junon.
That city they're headed to, is that...
Junon. Shinra territory.
At its core, Rebirth's combat is nearly identical to the system used in Remake, combining active attacking and movement with issuing commands to your party members when their action meter is full. You still pressure and stagger enemies, building the gauge via skillful combat and doling out massive damage when it's full. It's a fun system that provides a good mixture of modern active combat with the turn-based strategy that FF7 is known for. Fortunately, there are some new combat options available at your disposal. Rebirth introduces a new synergy system that lets you unleash multi-character combo attacks. Look out for synergy skills, which are basic combo attacks that can be used without an ATB charge, that you employ by holding R1 and then pressing square or triangle. These didn't feel terribly different from just mashing square to attack, but they do give you an additional way to vary your basic damage output. Rebirth also introduces synergy abilities, which can be used when two characters have built enough synergy gauge, a new secondary meter that's filled by using abilities. These essentially feel like additional limit breaks, giving you another source of big flashy damage to dole out. Synergy abilities vary depending on the characters using them, and they have fun little mini cutscenes, like Barrett unloading a salvo of bullets and then throwing Red 13 at the target. There's also new materia to expand your options in combat. In addition to one seen in Remake, like Synergy, Magnify, and Assess, I encountered a Precision Defense Focus materia, which extends the input timing window for perfect blocking, a Lightning and Wind materia, which enabled both arrow and thunder magic, and a Level Boost materia, which increases the level of the linked materia by 1.
You know, while he's talking all this stuff about materia and stuff, and I'm sure it's interesting, and the materia crafting system, I had a lot of fun with it. Am I the only one that's just sitting here watching Cloud, Tifa, and Sephiroth walking and just going... I mean, if I didn't touch Crisis Core, I'd be chill with it. But after watching and playing Crisis Core, I'm kind of like, when is this exactly happening? Because I see Cowgirl Tifa, so that gives me an indication of when it's happening. But I'm kind of like, then Cloud's uniform doesn't make sense. And if Cloud's got... Like, you get me, right? I'm not the only one here.
The demo also gave me a taste of how Rebirth will translate the expansive open world of FF7's world map into explorable zones. It won't be completely open world, but rather have large open areas that you'll be able to explore.
Okay, and see, now I have a feeling. Now I have a feeling that it's Cloud and Sephiroth from the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you haven't played Final Fantasy VII Remake, close your ears now, like seriously. Okay, good, they're closed. Cloud and Sephiroth, after Final Fantasy VII Remake, for whatever reason, go on their merry way, F with time, because Sephiroth apparently has Yamato. They go to the point in time before Tifa, before Sephiroth gets stabbed, and then they F with time in another timeline, and whatever they do results in Zack not dying. There's going to be some time effing. I think there's going to be some time effing. And I think that's going to be happening at the same time as we play the storyline here with Tifa, Aerith, and everyone else. It's going to be either some sort of recollection or something that happened. Like, say, for example, Cloud is with the girls and Barrett and Red 13 and everyone, right? And then while they're, progressing in the story, you're going to get flashbacks of Cloud's adventure with Sephiroth. And then at a certain point of the story, it's all going to intersect, which is probably going to explain how Zack is alive, And it's also going to explain what the hell Cloud and Sephiroth are doing together with Cowgirl Tifa, who should at that point hate Sephiroth and Cloud. Well, not Cloud, but Zack. And Cloud. Like, you get what I mean. So there's going to be, The only thing that is better in the OG Dead Space is animation of necromorphs moving without legs on the floor. Yes.
Fans of the original will remember the pre-Junon section as a relatively empty bit of world map that the party traverses after emerging from the Mithril Cave.
Look, I get that people played this many years ago, and I'm sure that the story was wonderful, but as someone that hasn't, when I see this, and they tell me, like, the original is this amazing thing and ever, like, the most amazing thing since sliced bread, I gotta say, I believe you, the story is probably really, really, really good, but it's probably better in your memory than it is in actuality, simply because if I played it now and I had to read through everything in text, it wouldn't work for me. And even comparing, like apples with apples, if I was to compare it with Metal Gear Solid 1, which is fully voiced and is just phenomenal, if I had to read anything, it would lose a lot of emotional impact for me personally. So unless everything is voiced in Final Fantasy VII OG, I would struggle to believe it is as impactful as people say that it is.
Junon section as a relatively empty bit of world map that the party traverses after emerging from the Mithril Cave. Here, though, it's a large open area with cliffs overlooking a picturesque bay with the imposing edifice of Junon looming in the background. In open areas like this, the party will explore on foot, in vehicles, and on the backs of chocobos. Poor Red 13. That cannot be comfortable. This section I played was fairly walled off at the edges, but it's unclear if these walls are actually hard separations from other zones, or if the world map actually is all connected, and you're just limited by the modes of traversal at your disposal, as was the case with the original FF7 overworld. I didn't get to try out catching a chocobo for myself, but once you have one for that area, it can be summoned with R1.
Okay, this chocobo has like these neon green shoes, like, come on. Pimp my chocobo.
Chocobos will primarily be used for exploration and traversal, with specialized variants available in different areas. In the section I played, I only had access to a fairly basic chocobo that gave me some extra speed, but
yeah, fairly basic that just does a vertical climb up a cliff.
We've seen in the gameplay trailer one that can scale cliffs and another that can fly. The open area also had some hunt-like encounters that were marked on the map. These marked enemies seem to be specialized variants that came with a list of tasks to complete while fighting them. In the
Hey, you gotta do it. The Moogle's hit list is a hit list.
demo, these tasks were fairly basic. Pressure and stagger an enemy, and defeat them all within a certain time limit. But I have to assume that more complicated challenges will be present in the full game. These
You're talking to someone that just completely ignored the mechanic of that House of Terror or House of Horrors or House of Fun. Let's not do that again.
fights could also be repeated if you wanted to take an additional stab at knocking out all the objectives. Meanwhile, the open areas are littered with crafting materials to pick up. Little bits like laurel leaves and mist seeds and manifestations of the planet's blessing, whatever that is. These can be used to craft basic items like potions and Phoenix Downs. There are also chocobo stops to unlock, which...
Wait, Phoenix Down is considered a basic item? I thought it was a very rare thing that was very useful and you had to use sparingly. But it's good to know that I can just craft it with basic crap I find on the ground.
Serve as fast travel locations, letting you return to previous zones even after you've moved on.
Okay, this little chocobo looks... there.
And yes,
Look at it, look at it, look at it, look at it. It's so fat.
you can pet the chocobo chick.
Hell yeah, look at it! So cute.
Story-wise, Rebirth again feels very familiar, and yet also different. This is due in part to the tremendous difference in scale and presentation. Here, like with Remake, areas that were previously sparse or bare are expanded out into lush zones to explore. But there are also little changes that are mostly inconsequential, but they still play out in different ways than fans of the original FF7 are used to. Climbing Mount Nibble with Cloud, Sephiroth, and Tifa is effectively the same as people will remember it, right down to specific scenes like Sephiroth explaining how materia is crystallized Mako.
Oh, so this actually happens in the OG game and has nothing to do with time effery. Okay? But why is Tifa dressed like a cowgirl? Why is Tifa dressed like a cowgirl? She just woke up in the morning and she's like, you know what? Today I'm cowgirl Tifa. So she just brings her cowgirl costume with her everywhere she goes? Okay. Why not?
For the Mako energy to condense into something like this, it must have taken an eternity.
I've always wondered, how does materia let you cast spells exactly?
How did you ever get to be a soldier?
Was he even a soldier? Like, let's be real here.
And then you'll run...
Literally, like, the whole thing with Cloud being soldier is that Zack knew that Cloud promised to Tifa he was going to come home and be soldier. And Zack realized that this kid was never going to be soldier. So he got him a uniform and is like, now you're soldier. And is like, hold on to this sword. And is like, you go, boy. You know, he was just trying to hook him up, honestly.
into something different, like needing to use a big honkin' vacuum cleaner to hoover up some Mako fumes before you can use an elevator. What was that about?
So basically, Cloud is gonna die of Mako poisoning. You know, like, again.
Finally, there's the question of bigger changes. The end of Remake retcons a character death with fairly significant implications for FF7's story. Rebirth, meanwhile, will cover through the end of the original game's first disc, which, well, I'm not gonna say anything. The real question, though, is whether the story-changing whispers of fate will show up again. That remains to be seen.
Oh, great! These assholes again! Probably some Shinra science experiment.
Whispers.
For more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coverage, check out our interview with game director Naoki Hamaguchi, producer Yoshinori Kitase, and creative director Tetsuya Nomura. And for everything else, keep it right here on IGN.
Wait.
What?
Get back.
You know, Sephiroth is such a tsundere. Like, Final Fantasy VII Remake, he wants to kill everyone and turns into a giant dragon. In this game, he's like, no, Tifa, wait. Get back. We don't want you to get injured. It's like, Make up your mind!
This way.
You said you wanted to be a hero.
Wish I hadn't.
It thinks we're after materia.
Someone should tell it we're not.
I guess.
I'm pretty sure Sephiroth could just, like, one-shot this thing if he wanted to.
Got your back.
Try to keep your guard up. Take it from here.
So that's basically looped the video. It's gonna be weird having Sephiroth just be chill again. Like, he was chill at the start of Crisis Core, and then he wasn't chill, and now he's chill again. And apparently Tifa is chill with Sephiroth being chill, which is really weird. You know, all things considered. Whatever. Whatever. I think that's just going to be a thing I'm going to have to go through. I'm sure there's some sort of reasonable explanation, or it's just a fever dream. I've got nothing more to say. I'm just going to have to play it and see where it goes.